I'm going to spoil the manga. I'm going to spoil it all. I'm going to spoil it all right now. If you're not caught up with the manga, if you didn't read the newest chapter, get out. Click off the video. Brother, I'm talking to you. Click off now. Like, right now, I'm going to spoil it. Gojo dies. Sukuna takes over Megami's body. Yuji gets blood manipulation. Bet you wish you clicked off now. Now that's out of the way. We only have manga readers here. I wanted to go over the most recent chapter of Jujutsu Kaisen. And honestly, I've been sickened by how much Kusakabe slander I've been seeing online. People are saying, Kusakabe on Fraud Watch. Kusakabe on Death Watch. Nah. Kusakabe is him. Now, this might take some convincing. So let's just slowly go over this chapter and let me explain to you why Kusakabe is the GOAT. At the beginning of the chapter, we get a direct parallel, the exact same thing happening as to what happened to Gojo when he ended up getting sealed in the prison realm. They have all these sorcerers talk about, oh, how strong he is, right? So they're talking about how Kusakabe is the strongest grade 1. Right? They did the same thing with Gojo. The difference between these two is you already know that Gojo is the strongest. You already know he's the pinnacle of the Jujutsu world when they reiterate it. Kusakabe, on the other hand, we don't know how strong he is because he hasn't had that much screen time before. So I think this explanation is so that the audience isn't surprised when he ends up throwing hands with Sukuna. Or throwing swords. Well, hopefully not throwing it. Holding his own against Sukuna. This whole chapter is a Kusakabe-centric chapter. He begins it and he ends it. But in the middle is this fight between Maki and Sukuna. Sukuna goes on and on about how he's basically the pinnacle of Jujutsu, and Maki's the pinnacle of the human body and forgoing Jujutsu entirely. I think the reason Kusakabe has a focus this chapter is because he fits right in the middle. Kusakabe is the culmination of understanding the basics and his body and incorporating Jujutsu and meshing those two ideas together. And I think he's going to prove Sukuna that that's the way to go. So let's go over some Kusakabe feats real quick. Back in Jujutsu Kaisen 0, we have Geto launching Uzumaki at Yuta, and Yuta has to make a binding vow to get rid of his own life, to sacrifice himself in order to overpower it. And then we see at the end of Shibuya, when Kenjaku is launching Uzumaki powered by a special grade cursed spirit Mahito, Kusakabe blocks it. No problem. Other Kusakabe feats. Okay, he doesn't have any other feats. He really only has this one. But I will explain to you 3 reasons as to why Kusakabe has a chance against Sukuna. The first one is by comparing him to a much weaker character with a similar moveset, Miwa. We all saw when she decided to make a binding vow to never swing a sword again in order to land a powerful strike against Kenjaku, which she just catches because she's so weak. But Kusakabe is talked as the pinnacle of grade 1. So maybe he'll be able to pull out some binding vow shenanigans in the same way Miwa did, but actually pull something off. Or he's already done that. One of the big things people like to talk about with Kusakabe is how he is a coward. He doesn't want to fight. He's constantly running away from fights, trying to prolong getting into fights. We see in Shibuya, he just literally hides away sometimes. And he can't, like, even the newest chapter, he's like, gosh, I'm the last one, now I gotta fight. He's a coward. But he's still a Jujutsu sorcerer. He's still trained to be the best grade 1, even though he didn't have a cursed technique. So maybe the reason he thinks like this is because he's already made a binding vow. We don't really understand binding vows. They weren't really explained to us perfectly in the manga. We do know they have an upside and a downside. Maybe we've only seen Kusakabe's downside, so he potentially still has an upside to show us. And my second reason is about that same mindset. We see multiple times throughout Jujutsu Kaisen how the mindset is important to growth. And having this mindset of thinking you're the best and you're better than your opponent will lead to strength, right? We see it with Megami's first domain expansion. It's Sukuna's whole thing about how he just believes he's better than everybody, and that is why he's kind of the best ever. It's the same reason why Gojo was so strong, is because he was like, I'm the strongest, I'm the best. We also see it perfectly with Jogo in his fight with Sukuna, where Sukuna basically has to explain this philosophy to him that if you actually thought you were strong, you would have used your domain expansion against me, and maybe you'd be stronger if you just didn't think you were weak at all, and you just continued to be strong. Mahito takes this advice, basically, without even knowing it, and ends up becoming a very much stronger version of himself because of that. And being able to work around Sukuna by using the 0.1 second domain expansion. So I guess what I'm saying is, Kusakabe can still have a mindset shift. We might see Kusakabe go from coward guy to Sukuna, I'm gonna work you, I'm the best, right? And maybe thinking that way will have him power up some way and he'll be able to actually hold his own against Sukuna. I could see that kind of happening, maybe. Not really. But my third reason is by far my favorite. Let me introduce you to two characters who I only remember the names of one of. This blonde guy with the markings on his face with the luck curse technique, and Takaba with his left nut hanging out. What do these two characters have in common? They are not aware of their curse technique. I think you see where I'm going with this. Kusakabe might actually have a curse technique. He's just not aware of it. Now, the main plot hole with this is why would Gojo not just walk up to him and tell him what his curse technique is, because Gojo could just look at him and figure it out. With these two examples, we never actually got to see what it's like to figure out your curse technique when you didn't know what it was in the first place. So maybe there's some sort of weird jujutsu-ness where they can't ever comprehend or remember their own curse technique, and that's the boat Kusakabe's in. And he just, thinking he didn't have a curse technique, got so good with the basics that he doesn't really even end up using it because he's goated with a sword. So Kusakabe might have a curse technique. So basically, I want to stop seeing all this Kusakabe hate. All this Kusakabe is about to lose. Kusakabe is about to get turned into a chopped up watermelon. Kusakabe is gonna die a fiery death of hellfire. But basically, if you don't believe that Kusakabe stands a chance, you're dead wrong. And you will know you're dead wrong when the next chapter comes out. In 2 weeks from now, because there's a break, of course. Because he's cooking the most delicious panels you've ever seen of Kusakabe popping off. Quote me on it. Remember this. I'm done. That's the video.